witness Wendy Richter end the long, in fact, way too fucking long reign of the Fabulous Moolah as women's champion. She really should have lost that championship a number of years ago, but Moolah was always a very selfish bitch. Fuck the Fabulous Moolah, I'm glad she's dead. Nevertheless, this match was broadcast on MTV back when MTV actually was all about music videos, and they wanted to incorporate the World Wrestling Federation into their fold and into their portfolio. And it was a really big boost because the World Wrestling Federation in their towns, in addition to the syndication, all the stuff that Vince McMahon was doing, all the talents that he got, MTV, that influence, they took rock and wrestling, human centipede, those factors together, presented them to you as the rock and wrestling connection. And this was continuing to bolster the partnership. And then we got to the War to Sell the Score event in February of 1985, WrestleMania 1. It was so goddamn cool to see. What a fucking time capsule. The crowd was electric for the most part, at least for some of the show. And it was really cool to see how the crowd would react to certain things. And man, just so fucking cool. Let's talk about it. I'm John Richter with the retro review of WWF The Brawl to End It All 1984, where everybody got on the floor and did the dinosaur, I assume. I actually don't remember when that song came out. This was broadcast on July 23rd, 1984. Now, only Wendy Richter and the Fabulous Moolah was broadcast on MTV. That was pretty cool, though. Big fucking boost. Big boost for the women. Wendy Richter, considering that, her and Cyndi Lauper had been doing some vignettes. Wendy's talked about that. Cindy's talked about that. It was a big fucking deal. And then the other matches were actually broadcast on the Madison Square Garden network. And this, I'll be honest, depending on which version you find on YouTube, you're either going to find one with the audio slightly out of sync or the audio totally in sync, but also because of the worn VHS status of those particular tapes, you're going to get some high squeakage with the voices. That's just your fair warning. But really cool fucking time capsule. I don't know what was with the beginning, though. They had, I think it was from the original broadcast, because they had something, I want to say it was from the Philadelphia Spectrum. Maybe it was from Madison Square Garden, but the ring looked different. I think it was the Spectrum. It was Fuji and Tiger Chun-Li against Oppa and Ceca. This was joined in progress. It's over in a couple minutes. But it did have Fuji and Tiger Chun-Li go at it, because Fuji was like, oh, you lost, I'm going to beat you up. And then Tiger Chun-Li apparently turned face. I know nothing about Tiger Chun-Li. By the way, the known pedo, Mel Phillips, was the ring announcer. Read up on it. You will know who the fuck I'm talking about. That guy deserved to fucking burn in hell for what he fucking did. Don't be like that. If you are like that, you don't fucking deserve to live. So, Mean Gene and Gorilla Monsoon did the commentary. Howard Finkel. Man, I fucking love Howard Finkel. I don't mean to sound like I'm mocking him. Howard Finkel, greatest ring announcer of all time. They did have a interview piece from Hogan, where Hogan was a little bit more dialed back. And that is, even though he was fired up and being somewhat cartoonish, it was nice to see Hogan dialed back. So from the broadcast, they did do the ads and the sponsors. That was kind of nice. We actually did get, at one point, an Avengers TV ad syndication plug. Yes, from the series that came out in the late 60s, maybe early 70s, I think it ended. And the crowd was into it. Howard Finkel doing the stuff where, the mic stand got lowered. That was really cool to see. And it was Ceca versus Ron Shaw. There wasn't much to this. In fact, a lot of these matches aren't going to have expert, deep analysis. I'm not too familiar with Ron Shaw. Big guy. Of course, Ceca at this point. It's weird to see the Wild Samoans as baby faces, considering I think just a year prior they were heels. I know, well, actually, not even a year. Not even a year, actually, because Tony Atlas and Rocky Johnson beat them for the championships in November or December 1983. And this wasn't that far after. It was a number of months, but oh well, it is what it is. It was just odd to see, just very odd to see. But Ceca ends it with a headbutt, just falling on him. 1, 2, 3. There you go. Tony Gurria took on the Iron Sheik with the Ayatollah, Freddie Blassie, or Ayatollah Blassie. God, Freddie Blassie was great. And to think he was still main eventing in LA until I think the early 70s, early to mid 70s. I'm trying to remember his exact age. But Sheik was just stalling and jaw-jacking with the fans. Tony Gurria with a side headlock that the crowd was popping for. That was pretty cool to see. USA chants. There wasn't much to it. Gurria dominated this, but eventually Sheik did get a back suplex. 1, 2, 3. Iran, number 1, Pui. God, Sheik was great. I know he's still alive, I'm just saying. He doesn't make much sense now. Tito Santana took on Bob Orton Jr. This is before Jesse Ventura got on commentary, so he wasn't calling him Chico Santana. And, of course, every time Brian Cage shows up on television, I hear from Chico Santana, California, because I'm mature like that. Intercontinental Championship match. 20-minute time limit. They went to time limit. I will say, this actually was pretty damn good. Santana was fucking tremendous at this point. Had worked for a number of years. Same with Bob Orton Jr. Good arm focus. Orton was a great heel. Orton did get a big slam to a pop and then hit a backbreaker. Tito did eventually fire back. Only got 2 counts. They reversed abdominal stretches. Went back and forth. And eventually were just windmill punching each other. And that went to the time limit draw. Crowd booed. Santana retains the Intercontinental Championship via draw. This was one of the standout matches on the show, though. I encourage you guys to check this out. Even though 20 minutes, yeah, there were a couple slow parts, but it is pretty good. And then Bob Backlund took on Butcher Vachon. Well, wasn't much to this, in all honesty. Butcher did a couple things, but then Backlund got a huge, huge slam. I mean, just picked him up. And Butcher was not a small guy by that point, but just Backlund stout, threw him. Good stuff. Eventually locked on the chicken wing, got the victory. Good stuff. And actually, it was really goddamn quick. Mean Gene interviews Greg Valentine and Hulk Hogan about the upcoming WWF Championship match. And then they took on each other in said WWF Championship match. Greg Valentine, always just looking so fucking thrilled to be there, by the way. He kept focusing on the leg, trying to grind Hogan down. Hogan just uses power and the crowd energy, and Greg actually dominated some of this match, and then Hogan eventually came back, hitting the lariat, hitting the leg drop, weird leg drop, because he would, instead of hitting it where he would hit with his right leg, hit it like where Valentine was facing with his head, like this way. Valentine was facing with his head this way, so Hogan went for his leg drop and had to tuck his other leg, so he actually hit like this. He hit like this, and it was very, very weird. He was scissoring him. Have fun on seeing that. But anyway, he ends up winning. Good stuff. Certainly, maybe not the standout match, but considering that this was a match I hadn't, seen too much of, Greg Valentine and Hulk Hogan facing off, good for what it was. It was only like 10 minutes. Antonio Inoki took on Charlie Fulton, defending the WWF Martial Arts Championship. Yes, that was actually a thing. This is during when Inoki and WWF had a partnership. And I believe it was right around this time, or it was just a little bit later that Vince actually had to go and meet with Giant Baba to get the Bulldogs to come back. And, All Japan and New Japan, they were rivals. And Inoki probably wasn't too happy to see Vince McMahon having to shake hands with his rival on one of the Japanese covers. But this would continue their partnership. They would do co-promoted shows overseas. They would even do Japanese shows into like 1990, 1991, I believe. There was like a big Tokyo Dome event that I recall seeing something of. I want to say it was from like April or May of 1990. I know Stan Hansen was on the card. But that was pretty cool. That was pretty cool to see. This wasn't much of anything. I'm talking more about the history in this match because this match wasn't very interesting. Inoki hits the Enziguri 1, 2, 3. It's like 3.5 minutes. And then Adrian Adonis and Dick Murdoch took on Sergeant Slaughter and a man named Terry Daniels for the Tag Team Championships. I know nothing about Terry Daniels. I pride myself on knowing more, or knowing at least something about some of these talents. Just being a fan of this watch for years, I don't know everything about everybody. Obviously, I'm just a fan. I've never been in wrestling. But I like to know at least something. I don't know fuck about anything about Terry Daniels. If you do, please let me know. Let me know if there's like a safe link I can check out some information on. The guy wasn't bad. The crowd loved Slaughter. Daniels was given a lot here. Dick Murdoch, of course, had to get out early because he had to go to a KKK meeting. If you know, you know. And Adrian Adonis, he wasn't nearly the wreck physically that he was a few years later. Okay, har, let's talk about this. Daniels ended up being given a lot. He did get targeted for a while. Slaughter got the hot tag. Got the clutch on, but that got stopped. We got a melee, and Daniels ended up being the legal man. Dick Murdoch and Adrian Adonis did the move that Demolition would later do. Backbreaker, elbow off the top, 1, 2, 3, and there you go. Daniels takes the pin. Obviously, he was going to be the one to take the pin. Then we get a melee afterward. It wasn't bad. This was not a bad match. Actually, this might have been, outside of the Intercontinental Championship match, a standout match. And then we get Wendy Richter, easy for me to say, with Cyndi Lauper and Dave Wolf. Dave Wolf was Cyndi Lauper's manager, by the way. And on the most recent WrestleMania 1 biography / whitewashing that WWF did, or WWE did, with A&E. And Fabulous Moolah had Captain Lou Albano there. Women's title match, and look, let's be perfectly honest. Moolah was never good in the ring. Moolah was tough because she would be willing to take a body slam on the goddamn concrete because she was made of fucking shoe leather and looked like it and probably smelled like it too. Yeah, fuck the Fabulous Moolah. She was a goddamn abusive piece of shit. And sure, she did a lot for women's wrestling. She also held it way the fuck down. If she had stopped way early, if she had stopped there, women's wrestling might have actually gone somewhere. But now, Moolah even ruined the whole goddamn chance of the Women's Tag Team Championships being defended on, I believe it was the WrestleMania 5 card, where she said, oh, the office says that you gotta do a title switch here, and then they did, and then it actually wasn't meant to be the case. It was Moolah sabotaging people because she was a piece of shit, and by the way, fuck the Fabulous Moolah, I'm glad she's dead. So, I mean, let's be perfectly honest, Moolah was always terrible in the ring. Richter did everything she could, everything. Cyndi Lauper even got involved, while the referee just completely saw it. It was absolutely hilarious. Albano tried to get involved, and then they did the old double pin thing where, you know, the back suplex, 1, 2, and then Wendy got her shoulder up. 3, and there you go. Wendy wins. We get a brawl where Moolah lays out the referee, whoever the referee was. That was kind of funny. And then we get a celebration, Mean Gene with Wendy Richter, Cyndi Lauper, Dave Wolf, and Cal something. I actually didn't catch the last name. Music guy. And they're talking, celebrating. Slaughter, Hogan show up. Big celebration. Cool stuff. And that was where the broadcast ended. They had that match. No doubt had interrupted by a couple commercials. But good for what it was. Good for what it was. And it was a big goddamn deal. Wendy won. Unfortunately, she didn't get to hold the championship for as long as she should have and wasn't elevated to the point. Like, yes, there weren't as many women's wrestlers around back then that were going to be brought up to a certain point. There was Sherry Martel, there were others, there were some valets that would get in the ring and do the cat fight stuff. Vince still could have done better and shouldn't have done the fucking original screw job double cross thing, but whatever. Paul Orndorff taking on Cheap Jay Strongbow. I wrote down 1985 Jay Strongbow. Ouch. Wasn't very good. Strongbow was not very good. He really wasn't. He really... Wahoo McDaniel was so much better. Eventually, Orndorff hits a lariat, 1, 2, 3. It was only a few minutes and it felt longer. This is where the stuff cooled down. And then Alpha took on Rene Goulet. The clown is down. And Alpha beat Rene Goulet pretty quickly. Hit a Samoan drop after 3.5 minutes. 20-man battle royal. These are some of the people that were in there. Antonio Inoki, the winner, by the way. Tony Gurria, Strongbow, the Samoan, Steve Lombardi, Murdoch, Bob Orton Jr., Adrian Adonis, Rene Goulet, Ron Shaw, Charlie Fulton, Terry Daniels, Tito Santana, The Sheik, Orndorff, Slaughter, Samu. You know what all those guys have in common? I mean, really, outside of Samu, and maybe even Samu worked on a card, you know, earlier in the night. 12 matches, and it was over within 2.5 hours. If you take off that, or, you know, the first few minutes of that tape with the Wild Samoans against Fuji and Tiger Chun-Li, it was a battle royal with a bunch of guys that already worked, and Antonio Inoki won. Now, yeah, it was cool. Antonio Inoki, of course, took every bump on the chin, but it was what it was. It's a cool time capsule. This is not something you need to revisit beyond rewatching it once. But let me know your thoughts in the comments. Like, share, subscribe, Twitter handle in the description. I'm John Retlin. I'll see you soon.